All right, everyone, welcome back into another Fantasy Golf video. Today, we're going to be breaking down the Zurich Classic. Okay, this to me is one of the fun events of the year. It's nice to break up things here, okay? I'm a big advocate for bringing back the March Madness style tournament as well, the bracket challenge, because it does break up the events. Now, I'm not going to say that the tournaments get a little bit repetitive, but in a sense, they kind of do, okay? So it's nice to kind of break it up and give us a little bit something different, give us a little bit of a refresher, and we're kind of back into the big events. And so this is a fun event to break down. Typically speaking, for like DFS or betting purposes, it is pretty hit or miss. But due to that, because it's a little bit more unpredictable, you can set yourself up for a pretty big week with some good values betting-wise. And DFS-wise, if you end up getting 6 for 6 across the cut line, you're sitting pretty darn good. And so one of the fun parts about this tournament is just really figuring out maybe why these golfers decided to be paired up with each other. So for example, a lot of the golfers in the field are just going to be former college teammates, and that's really how most of them came to be teammates in this event. Okay, so there is that kind of ties nature to it as well. A lot of just former college golfers. We also have 3 teams of brothers in the field as well, which are going to be players that we're touching on as well. And then from there, most of it just comes down to region other than that. So obviously, Shane Lowry and Rory being paired up together, mostly due to region. Also, Ryder Cup. We'll touch on this in much more detail here. And so it is going to be a little bit more of a podcast style video, if you will, where I'm just going to be reading off a bunch of breakdowns for each and every group here, guys. I think it's a fun way to go about navigating this tournament and then giving you guys the breakdown of how to go about attacking with each team this week. So let's get into a quick breakdown of the dynamic of this tournament as well. So obviously it's going to be 2 players that are paired up together. Round 1 is going to be 4-ball, which is best ball, which is best score. Okay, a lot of people tend to get that wrong if they are new to the game of golf. They hear best ball, they typically think best ball gets played, which is scramble. Okay, so it can be a little bit confusing there. Round 2 is actually going to be foursomes. Okay, so alternate shot. Okay, so one player hits the drive, the next player would then hit the approach shot. Hopefully speaking, there are some water. maybe they're going to have players hit it off the tee twice in a row. Hopefully not. Hopefully we avoid those golfers. And it is worth calling out as well, guys. The cut line is going to be the top 33 teams and ties advancing after the second round. Okay, so this is a unique event where it's extremely difficult for PGA DFS purposes to get 6 for 6 across the cut line. Okay, nearly 70% of the field is going to be eliminated by round 2. Okay, 47 teams are eliminated roughly, obviously ties and whatnot. So it does really limit the field. So with that, in a sense, we do sometimes get some random winners. Okay, but at the same time, we get a lot of predictable winners as well. Rory McIlroy, Shane Lowry, one of the best teams in the field last year. Nick Hardy, Davis Riley, pretty random. Okay. Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, very much easy to hit. That was, I think, one of my only bets that week where I bet them to win and have the first round lead, which was a nice hit. Mark Leishman, Cameron Smith, those 2 both winning. And then we had John Rahm paired with Ryan Palmer. Oh, well. Scott Piercy with Billy Horschel. Billy Horschel loves this track. We'll touch on that in a little bit here as well. But the biggest takeaway from like just overall looking at the course and course history is the golfers that have played this course do get a slight advantage. I think it's just more to the dynamic of one, knowing the course, being able to teach their opponent that, but also just the dynamic of playing in a team event. Billy Horschel, we know, does just succeed in those type of events. So I just want to real quickly go through some data things here as well. So the data is going to be broken down like it has for every single tournament in the 9-to-5 cheat sheet, except for one difference here, guys. The 9-to-5 rank, this is going to be by team, okay? Right now, you can just do it by that. Now, for DFS purposes, you are only playing one player from a team. Okay, that is important to note. Okay, and so that's why we have broken down this way. Just select whoever. It doesn't really matter who you select, just from that team. So, as you can see, the top team is going to be Rory and Shane Lowry. The way I went about doing that was 2-tiered. Okay, it's one model average, fantasy point projections for both players there, and then combining that together. Okay, and so like Kyle Morikawa overall is one of the better players in the field, 6th best in the field. Okay, a little bit hit or miss in terms of his course history, being a big disappointment at this event, honestly. And then you have Kurt Kitayama, who has played this course extremely well, but he hasn't been playing some good form. So, you know, when you put those 2 together as a team, they only rank out as the 9th best team. But again, we're going to go ahead and break this down team by team. The one other thing I want to call out before we get into that is another fun thing is looking at just the specialist data, but specifically just the event type. So this is like an alternate type of event. So it's a fun event, if you want to call it that, as well. So basically speaking, guys, we have no cut events, and I might need to add in some verbiage, but we have no cut events and full tournament field events. And then we have this one, which is the fun events. And so the golfers that play the best in these fun events are Rory, Max Graceman, Garrett Kigo, Ryan Fox, Thomas Dietrich, Chris Goddard, EVR. Okay, so very interesting to note there. Just kind of a fun thing to look at as well. Obviously, that's already going into the data here as well. So now let's go ahead and get into the top team. We'll start with Rory. All right, so let's take a peek at Rory and Shane Lowry. Last year's defending champs, they played extremely well at this event last year. This was Rory's first time playing in the event ever last year, where he's paired up with Shane Lowry. I do wonder just mentally if Rory's going to be as motivated to play well at this event. Obviously, win the Players, win the Masters. He could have his B+ game, and as long as Shane Lowry is playing like he has been playing, they could still win. Just at their price tag, it is more difficult. But if you look at the other teams, they are by far the top two teams. Now, in terms of their connection, obviously Ryder Cup teammates, I think we can kind of just bank on that. Played together in 2021 and 2023 there. It was the story behind them getting paired up together was pretty much, or what I've heard is after the 2023 Ryder Cup, or during the Ryder Cup in 2023, they had a drunken lunch together, so probably after the Ryder Cup, and basically just decided that they wanted to play together at the Zurich Classic, and that led to a win for both of them. So pretty fun there. But really, that's their kind of, obviously, their ties. So not as fun of ties for them. Looking at it, guys, recent form has been solid for both golfers, ranking out first and third in the field. The biggest difference is going to be in their recent form average over their last 7 starts. So Shane Lowry, average finish over his last 7 starts, 28th or so. Rory, 6th. So obviously Rory's been playing extremely well, winning multiple times. We love that. So for DFS purposes, I will say it is interesting kind of looking at them from that perspective, because this is a week in which we are expecting a very low, really 4 for 6 across the cut line type week, okay? Because of the limited amount of teams that make the cut, you could just be like, all right, I want to lock in a made cut, and if we can get really 4 out of 6, if we can get at least 4 out of 6, at least we had the best team across the cut line. And so because of that, we should be setting ourselves up for a very good or decent enough week from that standpoint in terms of making a profitable lineup. Obviously, GPP wise, if you get 6 for 6 across the cut line, you should be looking pretty good to potentially take down a GPP. Again, it's going to be very difficult to do that, so you could be getting to them there as well. And so we just go ahead and look at the odds for them as well as a team on DraftKings right now, guys. So the data is a little bit different on the website, just as an FYI, because of the unique setup. Like right now, the lineup builder not working correctly, the odds not working correctly, again, because it's pulled in a little bit differently this week. Hopefully I'll have those corrected by lineup lock. It's kind of the issue with this week. But looking at it, guys, if you were just making one bet, I actually wouldn't mind that bet. The issue is, after that, what do we do? So like the outright odds for Kurt Kitayama and Collin Morikawa to me are kind of crazy given how they rank out. 12-1 seems a little bit crazy. So we have Collin Morikawa and also Kurt Kitayama pairing up together. Most likely just pair together with their California ties, guys. Now, Kurt Kitayama as well is probably a choice for Collin Morikawa last year, where the group finished 23rd, because Kurt Kitayama has played this event pretty well in the past. Okay, hasn't missed a cut here. Whereas when you look at Collin Morikawa, he has really not had a good finish at this event. And so it just hasn't worked out for him. Now, Morikawa is the second best staff in the field. Pretty good in recent form. The thing with it, last year Kurt Kitayama was playing fine golf. Right now he's not playing really any good golf. So to me, I think we're just looking past this group as a whole. As a whole, they rank out as the 9th best team. And again, at this price tag, probably just not worthwhile for us. And so the 4th best ranking team in the field is going to be Robert McIntyre and Thomas Dietrich. Okay, this is how ugly the field gets, right? We get a golfer with Thomas Dietrich that has the 55th best form in the field coming in as the 4th best team. That's part of the risk, okay? We look at the specialist data. Thomas Dietrich does rank out 3rd there. Course history-wise, has played this course well. The issue with that is he was playing better golf leading into this event in years past. Robert McIntyre as well, he's been a little bit hit or miss. The upside could be there. The biggest thing is vibes need to be there. Now, these two as well are just paired together mostly just due to the European ties, being European players, okay? So it likely doesn't go deep here. Robert McIntyre and finished 8th, obviously with Thomas Dietrich last year at this event, but played terribly at this event 3 years ago. And then Thomas Dietrich, again, pretty good course history. I'm fine getting to them. They just feel a little bit too risky. I actually think this next team is going to be the team we want to be going out of our way to target the most. And so it's going to be Keith Mitchell and JT Poston coming in as the third best ranked team in the field. These two are two players that in college competed against each other in SEC events, both kind of Southeastern players there. Maybe they played together in regional events as well. I believe this is the first time these two are pairing up together, but really this is a pretty good pairing, I would say. Keith Mitchell has been a player that should have won, and just looking back at last week, guys, we had another second place first round leader bet with Keith Mitchell, which is a little bit annoying from a player setting a course record that didn't end up winning, which was a little bit annoying. Now we were on JT the first round lead and win, first round lead, which was nice. But the thing with Keith Mitchell is hasn't been clutching up for those victories. That was actually kind of a painful T2 after the debacle that Joel Damon had over his last 3 holes. But yeah, I really do like this pairing together, guys. Course history wise, Poston's played at this course once. Not a good result there over the past 4 years, but Poston has been playing great golf, guys. 10 straight make cuts for him, including 11th place finish in his last event. Keith Mitchell, 4 straight make cuts, including a 2nd place finish. Keith Mitchell has just been playing some great golf. Poston ranks out top 10 in recent form. You got Keith Mitchell ranking out top 12. Okay. And then 9 of 5 rank, Poston could be better, ranking out 30th in the field. You got Keith Mitchell top 10. We'll take that. That's fine. But I like this team a decent amount. And so when we look at their betting odds, that's probably the first bet I want to make, guys. It's kind of ugly, but 18-1, I'm okay with that. So again, if you're placing one bet, I'm okay with Shane Lowry and Rory. If you're placing multiple bets, like say like top 5% in the field, which I'm kicking myself for not doing last week with JT, that's typical the rule. Just bet on the top 5% in the field. You'll be profitable in the long term. And I just did not bet JT last week. It was the one player that I skipped out on. Made myself pretty mad about that one. Now in the 9 of 5 write-up, I did call out that I kind of thought this could be the week that he could win. Just pretty much one bet short of him. But whatever, that's not really here nor there. But I'm okay getting to JT Poston and Keith Mitchell as they do rank out as two pretty good outright bets. Pretty terrible odds here, guys. Hoping we would get a little bit better odds there. And now we go ahead and get into the next team, which is a little bit ugly, I would say. Ben Griffin and Andrew Novak. Again, two golfers that likely just have the southeastern ties. Ben Griffin being from North Carolina, and then Andrew Novak, South Carolina. I don't really get the pricing here. I think this is literally due to Andrew Novak playing well the last 2 events, and that's simply it. You look at the course and event history for these two, pretty poor. Okay, 4 missed cuts out of them included, and the best finish 23rd, and they want us to almost pay $10K for them. I don't know. To me, that feels like an easy pass. Now, Ben Griffin is someone that, for the most part, long-term has been playing fine golf, but still ranks out 23rd in the field. So for me, I just think we're looking past these two players and jumping on into the next pair, which is going to be Taylor Moore and Wyndham Clark. So the worry about these two, I would say, would be round 2. Okay, not the best ball round in round 1, where Wyndham Clark can get a little bit weary with some of his shots. But if you compare Wyndham Clark to some of the other players that are in the field, he is still one of the better golfers in the field. This team as a whole does rank out decently well. There's no clear ties from these teams, from these two, except for the fact that they have played this event a decent amount. And I think that's just what it came down to. Taylor Moore was a very disappointing miscut at this event last year because the years prior, 4th and 7th, you could argue he's actually a better option this week than he was the last 2 weeks just as an individual coming into this event, and then paired together with Wyndham Clark. Both of them rank out top 10 in the field. So I think we're looking pretty good with these guys. The issue is the form has been a little bit spotty. So they rank out 24th and 14th in the field with a rough average finish between the both of them, about 37th over their last 7 starts. So really kind of spotty there, but that's where they're paired together, and we could see maybe that be a good thing. Another team here that probably just together due to them playing the event a decent amount, Billy Horschel and Tom Hoge. So Billy Horschel was not playing good golf last year. I think we should call that out. Okay, so honestly, I could kind of look past that miscut for him last week. I mentioned this a bunch with some golfers last week where we got to decide whether or not we think that something was an outlier with the golfer. And for Billy Horschel, I do think that finish from him last year was an outlier. And so we see the success that he's had at these type of events. You even look at like the TGL. I'm going to be okay getting to him 11th, 3rd, and 4th in all the years prior to that. Tom Hoge does have extensive course history here as well. Tom Hoge has been playing great golf as well. 7 straight make cuts in a row. 5th best form in the field. As a whole, these two aren't ranking out too well. They are only the 9th best team in the field. That does worry me, but I don't know. Could Team Vibes, Billy Horschel doing the stupid Dirty Bird dance that he does, could they win? I think they could, and maybe you guys want to get to them. I will say the betting odds that we're getting for these two, I wish they were, again, a little bit higher at 28-1 currently on DraftKings. That's a little bit less good than I would like it to be, which is a poor way to phrase that. But I think we're going to have better, more likely options to win a little bit later on. So I'm going to take them off. But if you guys want to get there, I wouldn't blame you as well. It's just more of a vibes click rather than a great data click. And so from there, let's go ahead and get into Aaron Rai and Saeed Theegala. So again, no real true ties to this team. Kind of interesting to start the top end, and we'll see a little bit later on. A little bit different there. Both of them do have course experience here, which, again, we like to see. Saeed has been someone that you would expect to do well at this course. He just hasn't. Aaron Rai is just one of the better plays in the field. So overall, his team does rank out as a team that could potentially win. And Saeed is someone that can get going. He's a little bit of a streaky golfer as well. They kind of do have somewhat of a complementary game as well. You look at Aaron Rai with his accuracy, pretty darn accurate. And I should mention just the key stats that we're looking at, guys. We're looking at relative key stats this week. So effective scoring, which is a 9-5 stat, which just takes in basically a player's likelihood to play well that week, not really accounting for the upside, more accounting for the floor. We're looking at strokes gained approach. We're looking at good drive percentage. And so Aaron Rai ranks out first in good drive percentage. We're looking at total driving, ball striking, just all the normal, just general key stats that we look at, because if we try to dial in a little bit too much, I think we're setting ourselves up for failure there. We want to look at just which golfers are going to play good golf, which golfers are going to hit the shots they need to hit. And that's what we're looking at here. But Aaron Rai, good accuracy. And then you look at Saeed with his good short game. Maybe this pair is a pair that does end up getting pretty hot, and maybe they go on and win. I could see that. Saeed would need to play a little bit better, although he has made 5 straight cuts. Okay, so at least he's been able to make cuts. And so if we look at their odds, I think I'm okay getting to their odds at 25-1. And I didn't mention, Wyndham Clark, I do think we're okay betting on that group to win as well. So 25-1 there, that's a fine click for us to get to as well with that team. Feel pretty good about that. So I think we can likely look past the Twins here, guys. Just not playing good golf, did not play well at this event last year as well. That's basically it. I mean, there's just not much to like data-wise for them, unless you just think the vibes are going to be good here, which they weren't last year. I think we can just look past this team. Okay, so from there, we could then look at another interesting team with Max Graceman and Nico Echeverria. I think they're a little bit more of an appealing team. Data likes them a little bit more as well. So the 10th team in the field, ranking out 9th as a whole. Course history-wise, obviously that was a good spot for them. Both of them have been kind of hit or miss thus far this year. So my guess why they're paired up together is just simply, one, they played well together last year. Both young players, and I think it's just more of that. It's like, hey, you want to play in this event? Sure. Like, you're just kind of two players that want to play in this event together, kind of same career stages, if you will. Career paths going right now. And so I'm guessing they're just friends on the tour together. And so with that, 4th place finish at this event last year, you can look at them, but again, still a little bit risky. So now we go ahead and take a peek at Akshay and Carson Young, that team here. Okay, this is not looking like a really awesome spot for them. I wouldn't say they're terrible. Akshay is obviously a really good golfer. You look at like Carson Young, he's been a little bit spotty in terms of his form, but overall, just looking at it, guys, this feels like a team that we can just bypass and not get to, because we are getting plenty of better options right after them as a team. And so, let's move on into Bryce Garnett and Seb Straka. So first and foremost, Bryce Garnett is a typical good player in these type of events. Is kind of somewhat the secondary events he typically does well in, and just these kind of stranger events as well. That's proven with 2 11th place finishes at this event in the past, last year and then 4 years ago. Seb Straka has played this event very well as well. Now again, these are two players that more of regional ties, again more in the Southeast. But Seb Straka, actually ranks out as one of the better options in the field. And this one feels like the first big misprice to me, actually. Bryce Garnett, not a lock and load option by any means, but does have some good course history. The form isn't terrible, isn't great. Both of them are pretty good off the tee. Both of them are pretty solid. And so betting wise, I do think we can get to the. Now, the issue again is that the best odds that we're getting on DraftKings, at least right now, 30-1. So not that good of odds there for a team that I would have liked to get 60-1 odds on, obviously. Rather, I should say like 41 odds. I felt like that would have been more of the number rather than 30-1. Like 30-1 feels like they're being a little strict with that. Don't exactly love the number, but it's a good team to bet on this week. And then DFS-wise, we are looking at Matt Wallace, Thorbjørn Olesen as well. Both of them are European players. Olesen from Denmark and then Wallace from England. This team finished 36th at this event last year. Both of them have, pretty decent course history here. Again, just a good enough click, I would say, as a whole here. And at the salary that they're at, I'm kind of comfortable getting to them as well. And so kind of my overall theme for like DFS as well is I think we're probably going more of a fair and balanced approach for the most part. But that does come with a little bit of risk. Obviously, you were not locking in a good finish out of Rory and Shane Lowry. But yes, for me, guys, just looking at kind of maybe the start of a first look build here, I do think we'd probably want to get to, one of those players to start. So Seb Straka and then Matt Wallace, I think those are actually good starting points, especially for more of a fair and balanced build for PGA DFS. And now they're closer to 40-1, which I do think is a good number. Now, I will say I don't mind the pairing of Adam Hadwin and Nick Taylor. Obviously, both of them are going to be Canadian players, President Cup players, junior golf ties and everything. So they're pretty darn familiar, obviously, with each other. And this is just clearly going to be a pretty good team. I would say the day doesn't like them necessarily as much. That's mostly due to Adam Hadwin just not playing as good of golf recently. Nick Taylor as well, for that matter. Now, Nick Taylor has played in some more difficult events recently. But overall, just a pretty stellar play Nick Taylor is. And it's just tough to ignore that good course history. 10th and 2nd, when you're playing for something, when the backing yes, a little bit of Canada. They probably feel that way a little bit. I think we can get to these two. Again, just looking at the pricing, I think we'd be fine with that as well. Now, looking at Svensson and Norgard Moller there, decent team, I would say, in terms of upside, like decent form as well. Both of them, top 35 in the field in form, stat rank, both top 50, which again, given the dynamic of this week, that's not terrible. I'm fine with either of them. They are both European players, obviously have the European ties there, and I think that's why they're playing together. I wouldn't have them ranked actually as high as like Adam Hadwin and Nick Taylor. I think that's much closer than that. Probably split the difference there. Both of, maybe closer to, 12, 13. Both not terrible options. I think a little bit more riskier. Again, I want to probably be targeting teams that have had that course history. Wouldn't be surprising if they show up, though. Now, I will say I don't mind the idea of getting to Garrick Higgo and Ryan Fox. Now, Garrick Higgo is coming in off of that tilting win last week. I say tilting, just had a bunch of second place there, and even Joel Damon, it's kind of sad the way he choked that one away. But Higgo, he's been playing good enough golf. I would say 7 straight make cuts now, a win. Obviously going to be in good form, guys. 4th best form in the field, 5th best course history in the field, overall top 10 play this week. Then you pair that with Brian Fox, who is not a great click, but it's also not terrible. This is one of the more interesting pairings, I would say, for sure. Ryan Fox, an older player on tour. Both of them are international players, so maybe that's why they're playing together. But to me, it is a little bit strange there. But given the course history that Garrick Higgo has here, and given the fact that Ryan Fox is not a terrible player, again, I'm kind of comfortable going with this grouping. The question, as always, when a player's coming in off of a win, is just how mentally focused will they be. Given the fact that's a team event, I don't know if we necessarily need to worry about that. And then from there, we have another team that I think we can kind of just overlook. Now, this is where we do get a little bit of an interesting grouping here. Okay, so both these golfers did play at Stanford. And so you do have a little bit of that kind of vibes, I guess, if you will. A little bit of players that are familiar with each other, probably wanting to play a little bit better together as well. That's why they're paired together. You never know exactly how that's going to go. But I would say, like, if we can pair golf teammates together that are playing good golf as well, that's ideally what we want to do. A team that should make the cut, but it's going to be right around the made cut. Again, the top 33 teams that make the cut. But again, this is where we start to get some interesting pairings, I would say, because Phillips is someone that obviously won on the PGA Tour wearing his Sunday red, although he didn't wear Sunday red. I don't exactly get that. The color, wore the branding there. If you guys are not familiar with that, obviously Tiger Woods signed him to his apparel company, and then obviously he ended up winning like 3 weeks later. Kind of crazy stuff. But they do kind of have a good mix of their style of play, I would say, together. So they do present an interesting dynamic, but given where they're priced, they definitely are more of a G-only type option for DFS. And for betting purposes, I think we can just overlook them. Like, for instance, this grouping is actually a little bit more appealing to me. Alejandro Tosti, who was one of the T2 players for me last week. And then you also have Joe Highsmith here as well. So they're not college teammates. Highsmith went to Pepperdine, and then you also have Tosti that went to Florida. And again, just looking how good of golf that Alejandro's been playing lately, 2nd, 12th, and 5th, all pretty darn good stuff. Now, yes, as good of a field event, but still playing good golf. Joe Highsmith was someone that was playing good golf for quite some time. And so, yeah, I do expect them to make the cut. Now, from there, we do get the Fitzpatrick brothers, and they're difficult. Okay, they're difficult because, one, they do have good course history here, but a lot of that was due to Matt Fitzpatrick playing really good golf at this event, or coming into this event, and that's just not there for him. And Alex Fitzpatrick is arguably playing a little bit better golf as well coming into this event, and so that's what makes them a little bit difficult. Okay, so they have finished 11th and 19th, which at this pricing, given the constraints of this week, I think would be okay with, but at the same time, it does make them difficult clicks. I'm also kind of fine with that. Jordan L. Smith and Lord Cantor, they're both fine options as well. This is where things start to get a little bit more difficult once we start to get those DP Tour players in there as well. Both English players, obviously. Again, I just want to be targeting golfers that more have that course experience. So we're going to go ahead and move on into Jonathan Vegas and Kevin Yu. These are two of the players that are very interesting, okay? In terms of upside, they're two players that tend to get pretty hot and can really, really go low, okay? I mentioned this at the start of the season with Jonathan Vegas. He was pretty much min-price, and I felt like he was someone we should be going out of our way to target because of his upside and because of the form that he's in. That has fallen off a lot as the season has progressed. He has been playing in more difficult events as well. Kevin Yu is someone that can always go out and score. This is a spot where I do want to be getting to GPP-wise, but I don't want to get overexposed to them too. They are good clicks, I would say, but again, just more GPP only. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and get into probably some of the better value that we're going to get on. And so looking at like Rico Hoy and Sam Ryder, again, they are pretty darn interesting. So Hoy is going to be a good stat fit, guys, 5th best in the field. He is someone that just, typically plays some pretty solid golf. And I want to look at these two like in detail a little bit more because given their pricing, I think they're probably one of the easier clicks. And I am wondering if I want to consider them as outright as well. Okay, they are 16th best team in the field, but I would argue that could be a little bit higher as well. The issue is going to be kind of the random bad results here from Hoy, but he does have some pretty darn good finishes mixed in as well. If you adjust it for the quality of field, I'm okay betting that 5th best stat fit that he has, that ranking there. Then when you pair him up with Sam Ryder as well, a golfer that in himself can be pretty darn streaky as well, a golfer that did ruin us with a Keith Mitchell first round lead a few weeks ago, he's an interesting one here as well. Okay, he's been playing overall pretty darn good golf. Sam Ryder is someone that does have course experience here, missed the cut at this event last year, but pretty darn good course history other than that as well. And so pairing these two together, I think, is a sneaky good pairing. And even though missed cuts here last year, I'm kind of okay overlooking that. And again, at the price, I think I'm okay getting. And so just betting on this group to mostly continue their good form. And so, again, I think somewhat of a fair and balanced approach is a good approach, mostly because the top-end golfers that we're paying up for, I don't know if we can necessarily trust them to make the cut. And in some ways, I kind of feel like some of the golfers on the lower end, a little bit more to play for somewhat. And I hesitate to say as well because I never want to spec to which reasons golfers find motivation to play well at a given event or why they're playing an event like this. For some of them, it might just be a fun event. But at the same time, you're going to go up and play. Now, I've got to continue on because another team that we have here is going to be Doug Gim and then also paired up with Chan Kim. Chan Kim was a golfer that honestly was a pretty big letdown last week, guys, in the sense that he shot 74. He was a top-ranked player in the 905 mile last week for the Corrales, and that 74 was still okay. This has kind of been the theme this year. It's where like these really good golfers are not showing up in the final round, kind of take things home. It's a weird thing that's occurred. Still a good week from him, and that's 2 straight good weeks for him, and 3 straight make cuts for him as well. Overall, been playing some pretty darn good golf as well. Then you pair him up with Doug Gim, who, Doug Gim coming in off of a good event, top 20, and kind of mixed results mixed in there as well, but overall good enough, I would say. Both these players just no known ties. Well, that's not true. They're both They're both Texas natives. They're both golfers that played golf in Texas. So yeah, they have the Texas background there. So again, maybe a little bit of vibes there. They are two players as well from Korean descent. I believe Chan Kim born there. Doug Kim, his parents were from South Korea. So both of them, South Korean ties as well. So kind of fun, a fun team just in general there. This team finished 28th last year at this event. So yeah, I think I'm on board with this team as well, especially including them in a, fair and balanced build. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to be okay putting them into a build as well. And so now we're getting into a little bit of an issue with going fair and balanced, because we're going to end up maybe getting to a team that I'm not necessarily too comfortable with. Maybe Toasty we get to, more of a GPP click there, but you're starting to see maybe a little bit this week as well, lineup wise. Now, I do think those two teams are kind of interesting teams outright wise as well, like I mentioned. So Hoy and Sam Ryder, that's at 60-1, okay? And so that's where... 45-1. That's where, if you're trying to find longer odds on some golfers, I could find the logic and get into someone like him. But then when we can get like Doug Kim and Chan Kim at 50-1, that's also pretty interesting. It's kind of up to you guys which way you want to go with that. But I do think there is a path to, betting on one of those two teams. But again, I just don't want to go too off the board. And so another team that has some Texas ties as well, Max McGreevy and Sam Stevens. So I would imagine that's why they're paired together. Both players are okay in the sense, like you probably would expect them to potentially make the cut, but not the best course history between the two. I know Sam Stevens finished 4th at this event last year. Sure, that's a good sign, and all 8th best specialist field as well. Like, we're okay with that, but at the same time, I don't think we need to go crazy with them as clips. So from there, the data does get a little bit wonky here, guys. If you want to sort it, if you guys are using this, your 9-to-5 member, just sort it by the rank. Honestly, I think this is the best route to go. But we got Alex Smalley and Joseph Bremlett. All right, both of them probably don't have any course ties together. Looking at the team, Bramlett has been, a little bit spotty with his form. I would say Alex Smalley, you would have thought he would have had a better week last week. Really, he's been such a good stat fit recently. He just hasn't been able to get things going. Now, both of them do have course experience. You look at Smalley's, not great. Bramlett, also really not great as well. But given how good of a stat fit Smalley is, and relatively speaking, they're both good enough plays across the board. There are two teams that are going to make my player pool, and maybe just bet them to top 20 if we can get some good lines on them, but not a team that we need to go crazy with as well. Let me look at a South African team here made up of EVR and Christian Bezuidenhout. Okay, so that's really their ties that they have there. That's seemingly why they're playing together as well. We have seen EVR be pretty darn hit or miss. Now, EVR is coming in off of a pretty bad miscut last week as well. Just had a terrible round one, so maybe that's part of it as well. Bezuidenhout has not been playing well as well, and so for me, just giving the lack of good plays that they are in paper, I just don't need to. So we're going to move on into Adam Svensson and also Cam Davis. So interesting group, I will say, okay, given the fact that you got Cam Davis, Australian golfer, Adam Svensson, a Canadian golfer, you wouldn't necessarily see these two, pairing together. Overall, I just think we can overlook this team in simple. And then from there, we can actually just move on into Chandler Phillips and Jacob Bridgman, a team that I actually think I would rather get to. So both of them are just kind of younger golfers. Again, don't have any course experience, experience together via college golf. Okay, Bridgman went to Clemson, Phillips went to Texas A&M, but they do have course experience here, finishing 19th at this event last year. If you look at it, Jacob Bridgman, actually a pretty decent play across the board, which again kind of tells you the field that we have. That is not a really good play. And then Chandler Phillips, a good enough play across the board. And so again, if we're just looking at maybe a cheap make cut, I think this team is the team that we can be looking at as well. Moving on into Bo Hosler and also Andrew Putnam. Again, kind of a more random team. Andrew Putnam is someone that, does play good golf, and if he was paired with someone not Bo Hosler, I think I'd be much more inclined to get to him. But again, just another team that, sure, if you end up on them, I think I'm okay with it, but also not a team that I necessarily need to go out of my way to target. So move on into Chris Gotterup and Cummings. This is an interesting team. So they are former college teammates, okay, going to Oklahoma together. Chris Gotterup finished 11th at this event. We know Chris Gotterup is a longer hitter as well. Chris Gotterup across the board, ranks out as a top 40 play this week. Cummings is someone that has been playing good enough golf recently as a whole. He's not a terrible play on paper. And I think just looking at his profile, yes, we would have wanted a better finish out of him last week, finishing 31st, but we have seen him play relatively well, except for at the Valspar Championship. And so I can bet on that form continuing. And he's 38th in recent form. Like we'll take that. And overall, they do rank out top 30 as a team And again, I just think kind of pairing their two styles together, I'm kind of okay with that. Again, hopefully the college vibes lead to them having a good week. Another team that's an interesting team is Danny Walker and Ryan Gerard, a team that I actually might think about getting to first round leader wise. So both of these golfers are now Florida golfers. Danny Walker living in Jupiter, Florida, I believe, and Ryan Gerard living in Jacksonville, Florida, I believe. And so, I think that's part of it as well. I believe they probably played on the Korn Ferry Tour together and so are familiar with each other in that regard as well. Ryan Gerard has been playing some great golf. Ryan Gerard ranks top 15 in the field in recent form rank. He's also a pretty darn good staff fit, 7th best staff in the field. You pair that up with Danny Walker, and I think it's a really good pairing, actually. I really do like the pricing here. Danny Walker, a little bit more hit or miss than I would like. If we could get some of that was coming in off of 3 straight make cuts, I'd rather begin to that team, but I do think this is very solid pricing. And so if you're looking for a good value option, again, another team that could potentially top 20, I think this is a good spot to get to. DFS wise, I like this as well. So let's jump on into Matthew Pavon and then also Victor Perez, 2 French golfers, obviously. Not really a team that I think we need to get to. I did just want to mention, 2 French golfers together. So there is that. Then we look at like Nate Lashley paired up with Hayden Springer. Hayden Springer in itself would actually be an interesting click here. Hayden Springer, 5 straight make cuts, really good staff fit. Nate Lashley has been playing good golf as well, 4 straight make cuts as well. Honestly, I might be overlooking this team a little bit. This is an interesting team. So 4 straight make cuts for Lashley, 5 straight for Hayden Springer. Hayden Springer, good staff fit. Nate Lashley also has a make cut at this event. I think this could be a good click. I think I might get there. I'm actually liking this group A decent. Looking at a little bit more. Let's go ahead and put them into the lineup for now. And if we can find a way to get to the Rory and Shane Lowry group, we're going to do that. So from there, I do think it's interesting looking at Bud Colley, who, again, individually would be one of the better in the field in general this week. A really good stat fit, really good form. 32nd last week was a little bit annoying. He did his week with a really good round 4. But overall, just a pretty good play. The fact that he's paired with Kevin Tway is not the best pairing, though. Now, Kevin Tway did finish 11th at this event last year, which bodes well for him. This is another team where, given how good Bud Colley has been playing, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kevin Tway play good enough. He is coming in off of, a little bit of an injury as well. Well, he's playing off of a medical exemption still, so he needs this week. Let's put it that way. So you could find a reason to be on him again. The reason you'd be playing this group is to really just target Bud Colley and hope that Kevin Tway plays good enough. Looking at Jake Knapp and that team, I don't really need to get to them at all. I don't think they don't rank out too well, and that's going to be the case with some of these other teams as well. So we look at a team of Joel Damon and Harry Higgs. Joel Damon's been playing some good golf. Obviously they had that whole moment, the TPC Scottsdale, the 17th hole, the par 3, where they both, took off their shirts. We don't need to revisit that, but they obviously have a friendship. Joel Damon's playing good golf. Again, could be good vibes. Higgs has a bunch of course history here, not good course history, all missed cuts, but I wouldn't blame you if you liked that narrative. And now we have another interesting team here with the Paul brothers. Okay, so Jeremy Paul has been playing decent golf on the PGA Tour recently, and the other Paul brother, he is someone that, if you follow DP Tour golf, has had a decent run in the past. Obviously, not playing as well recently, so I don't mind that group. I think that group is interesting, but I also think we can just kind of overlook them. So Davis Riley and also Nick Hardy are certainly an interesting pairing as well. So over the past 2 years, 28th and first place finishes for them. Davis Riley has been playing decent golf, 6 straight make cuts. Nick Hardy not playing good golf, but not a terrible staff fit as well. And so this is a team, just given their dynamic and given how well they played at this event, I think we're okay getting to them. I think this is actually a pretty darn good value wise, and so we could naturally end up on some sub 8K and feel pretty good about some of the things that we are getting to, in the sense that we have one player that's pretty good on paper, good enough, and then another player that's okay, but we're mostly just chasing that course. So I think I'd be okay with it. Another interesting team that has had good results at this tournament is Henrik Norlander and Luke List. Obviously, we know Luke List more of a longer hitter. That's why you look at a stat like total driving, 11th in the field, and then you pair that up with someone like Henrik Norlander, who's typically a good, smart golfer, good stroke gain approach, 3rd in the field, good drive percentage, top 30 in the field. And so you pair these two up together, and it's not really a shock to me that they do have good history together. 19th and 23rd place finishes here at this event over the last 2 years. Now, Luke List has not really been playing great golf recently. That is a concern, whereas Henrik Norlander has been playing some good golf. I don't mind this team, but again, probably feels like we're forcing it a little bit. And then we look at another South Korean team that's going to be Sung Moon Bae and Siwoo Kim. And this is probably the biggest discrepancy between like two teams or two players paired together. Siwoo Kim, very much hit or miss. He's probably feeling a little bit mad at himself for not winning last week. I get that. Honestly, I probably am mostly not clicking on this team as a whole. Siwoo Kim's a good golfer. I'm okay with him as a play as a whole, but I don't think we need to do it, guys. I feel like this would be a little bit too risky. And then from there, we look at like Chad Ramey and Justin Lauer. Decent course history between the two, and I think that should be enough for them to make the cut or give them a good chance at making the cut. But from there, guys, I think we can kind of just talk about some of the interesting from this point on, because that's really just what I think is the best route to go. Otherwise, it's going to be too long of a video. So looking at like Patrick Fishburne and Zach Blair are interesting clicks. They finished 4th at this event last year. They both are coming in with a pretty good start, and 2 out of 3 pretty good starts as well. They both attended BYU, and so they kind of had those vibes together as well. And so if you're looking for a cheaper click, I think these two are 2 pretty good cheaper clicks that you can get to. Another interesting team, again, pricing wise, would be Ryo Hesitun and then Kanaya here, both Japanese golfers as well. And so again, kind of just you get one golfer that's playing good golf, and then another golfer that is okay in some senses. You get good drive percentage third, so just find the fairways, Kanaya, and then you let Ryo do the rest. And kind of interesting teams. Again, I would wish they would have course experience in this event, not an end all be all, but again, I kind of would like. And then we also had the interesting pairing of Adam Schenk and Tyler Duncan, 2 Purdue players. Okay, you look at it, Adam Schenk and this team 27th and 11th at this event 3 and 4 years ago. Tyler Duncan played this event 2 years ago, finishing 34th. So, okay, they're not good form. Overall, a bad team on paper. But again, just kind of looking at the college ties and given the course history, maybe you could find a reason to get to them. They are a cheap price team. I do think they are a team that we could be mixing into our player pool, just preparing for the variance that we are going to see this. Another interesting team, just given the course history that they've had, is Mark Hubbard and Ryan Brehm. 3rd place finish at this event last year. Now, they're both kind of playing good enough golf last year at this time to warrant them as a click. And they also finished 27th at this event 3 years ago. But that's really the only reason why you begin to them. Both of them are not playing good golf as it currently sits right now. So they are kind of 2 golfers I think we could just pass up on. Another grouping of 2 college golfers that played together, college golf together, Vanderbilt University, Matthew Rydell and Will Gordon, 2 players that we're not expecting good things out of. But then a team that I am just kind of surprised by their pricing is Dylan Wu and David Lipsky, a team that golfers that has played this event well. So 1 missed cut out of this teaming. Out of 6 start this event with a top 10, and given the pricing, if they just make the cut for us this week, that's going to be good enough. They both have California ties for one. They both went to Northwestern as well, and so there is that vibes as well for them. And then you look at it, they're both coming in off of 2 good events, and it's a weird event where we are calling out when players are coming in off of a made cut. Like, that shouldn't be a good thing, but it is worth calling out there, like, good enough. And then I would be doing you guys a disservice if I didn't mention Nick Watney and Charlie Hoffman. I mean, really interesting options. Like, Watney hasn't been playing terrible golf recently, and Charlie Hoffman has been okay as well. Charlie Hoffman's going to be a pretty good stat fit, top 25 in the field. Given the course history for this team, like, they've played together, played really well at this event, relatively speaking, especially considering the price. 3 out of 4 years at this event. So again, if we're playing Lowry and Rory together, this is a very, very solid click for us to get to. I really find this pricing to be strong. And so let's go ahead and try to close up this first look build that we were working on, and then we'll touch on those outright bets to close up the video, guys. And then we're going to begin out of here. Again, I said it was going to be a longer video, kind of more of a podcast style. To me, it was a fun way to break it down this week. I'm not going to do this every single week, but it was kind of a fun thing for me to personally do, to break down the team, see why they came together, and maybe find more unique reasons to why we might have them. Because typically speaking, guys, we know exactly what to be looking at each and every week. It's just whether or not golfers. And so this week it does present a little bit of gray areas for us with the data. We have to factor in stuff that you really can't measure too much. So that's what makes it fun to break down. But closing out this build, 9.4 left over. I'd be okay getting to the Aaron Rai, Saeed lineup. I think I'm fine with that. We could bet on Billy Horschel continue to play well, but that does truly feel like a bet. I'd probably go with Saeed here to close this one out. I feel like this is a good first look build. Again, we're getting plenty of other values elsewhere. And again, I do think we could try to get to Lowry and Rory, that group. I'm fine with that. And again, I do really like Mitchell as well as the team. And so let's just recap the outright bets I'm looking at. So again, you could just get to Lowry and Rory, and that's your only bet of the week. I wouldn't blame you guys for that. But if you're not, I do like the teaming of JT Poston and Keith Mitchell, Taylor Moore and Wyndham Clark. You know, for DFS purposes, if he only clicks Aaron Rai and C. Tagala, I do think they have that upside to win. And then Substraka, Bryce Garnett, to me, one of the most mispriced teams DFS wise. Every team has their risks. I should call that out, but to me, one of the most mispriced. In terms of most mispriced for the betting board, I would say Matt Wallace and Thorborn Olderson are the most mispriced and given the odds. And then I don't mind the idea of chasing a long shot bet. It's only 50 to 1. That's not a shot bet, but given this week, I would say that it is. And so I'm fine with these guys as well. Now that's going to do it for this video. Appreciate you guys being here. If you guys would like access to all the tools that are available on 9to5sports.com, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Obviously, the 9to5 cheat sheet was a tool that I was showing you this video. You guys would get access to that as well. Now that's going to do it, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. That does help out a bunch. If you guys like the podcast style more, let me know in the comment section below. If you guys didn't like it, just leave a nice comment that slightly suggests to stick to the normal content. That'd work out well. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Good luck, and as always, let's keep cashing.